How do I do that? Oh,
Good evening and welcome to the new time slot for Smoke and Mirrors. It is it's a little weird. I had to set my lighting up and everything. I'm used to just having some nice sunlight.
Facts, you got the mood lighting going on.
I mean, a little bit. You know what? I'm still figuring it out. The last time we did something this late, actually it was later, was the home run derby. If you remember the recap.
Yeah.
That was dope. So yes, new time slot. And as always, I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside Greg Polius and our special guest, Chuck, who, if you watched on Friday, you got to, I mean, I think everyone enjoys a good Chuck rant. And
classic.
So I want to get into it right away. I hope you guys are well. We're going to skip these for today, at least. I want to get into this Subway series because we talked about it on Friday and I was adamant it was a sweep. Nothing less than a sweep for the Mets, right? I was one bad Rojas decision away from getting my sweep, which was frustrating. However, I'm really happy how this series ended. And Greg, you did call it. You had 2 games for the Mets. All right. 2 out of 3. Chuck, you were wrong. And it's okay. It's all right. I think you kind of expected that you could be wrong. But I will say this, the series overall was so good. I mean, I don't think anyone could have expected for these 2 bad teams coming into this to produce the kind of games they did because they were nail biters, edge of your seat. I will say Saturday night for the 9-11 game like that, the energy was really great. Seeing Citi Field rocking like that was amazing. Chuck, I want to start with you. Let's just talk. I want to kind of go through it game by game. Let's talk about game 1 real quick. Just what were your highlights from game 1 that really stuck out to you where the Yankees, it seemed close at first, but finished 10-3 in the Mets' favor?
well, it would be wrong of me to not start off by mentioning how much of a wuss Gary Sanchez is.
Yes, I wanted that.
And I think what we all know, what I'm referring to is the tag, non-tag at the plate on VR. Gallo threw a bullet home.
Missile, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And VR was dead to rights. And Sanchez sidestepped him. Does he not know the rule? Guys can't barrel into you anymore. They have to give themselves up. And that's what VR kind of did. He started to hold up. And then Sanchez did a little whoop. And then he was safe. And at that point, I knew it was over. That game, the Mets were going to win. It was just no. And then a little bit later, there's a ground ball to Urshela, and he throws wide at the plate. And Urshela is one of your guys who you count on to be that defensive wizard at the hot corner. But ever since he's come back from injury, he hasn't looked himself. So I don't know if they just rushed him back or whatnot, but that game was
awful for the Yankees.
Right. That game was your typical Yankees are terrible fundamentally, and it showed throughout that game.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Greg, I mean, is there anything that you want to add in? I think he missed a few Mets highlights if you want to touch on those.
You talking about game one or the whole series?
Game one.
Game one.
I think the series deserves to go a step by step because it was truly an emotional roller coaster in each game, and they were very exciting.
What I will say is that in game one, I think VR kind of put the stamp on like the Mets aren't here just to get run over.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like we're here to play ball. We're gonna play you guys tough, and we're not gonna go down easy. All right. This is not just because you're X amount of games ahead of us. This is gonna be a dogfight. And it kind of laid the groundwork for the series, to be honest.
I can agree with that. I honestly think that Baez, a little bit more than VR, was laying that groundwork and kind of putting a stamp on the type of team they can be, because outside of just playing phenomenally well in the last month where he's batting over like 340 or something, raised his average to 260 with 30 home runs and 81 RBIs. I mean, those are numbers that anyone would take on any team.
Absolutely.
But you have Baez now who, with the hustle, with the play, whether it's defensively or offensively, he is putting the engine in the back of the Mets. I mean, I love in that first inning. He's the reason that there was actually a play at home. He hits a hard hit ball into left field, and then Gary Sanchez, that's what he does. But throughout this series, you saw us with
Baez,
and I think that Chuck, you kind of mentioned it. The third inning, that's where it really unraveled. The 5 runs the Mets put up. Really liked what they did. So you have the game is tied. Pete Alonso gets walked with the bases loaded. Montgomery did not have a good game. All right, 3 1/3 he went through. But he walks 3 batters in a row, walks in a run, and then you have, with the Mets now tied, I believe following that, you have the throwing error by Urshela, right? So now the Mets are up 1, and then McNeil comes to the plate with no outs, bases loaded. And look, the way that the game has been going, you expect McNeil probably swinging for the fences or looking to get something in the outfield, lays down a drag bunt, a perfectly executed drag bunt that caught the Yankees off guard.
Honestly, bro, I think it would have caught anybody off guard. It didn't matter with the Yankees because it just doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's specific to the Yankees. I'm saying that the Yankees are caught off guard.
Yeah,
There was no
the Yankees are caught off guard because they haven't been around the bunt in like the past 7 seasons. They have no idea what that is.
But yeah, no, it was good to see a Mets team that could rally and put up the runs, right? That's not something we're used to seeing too often. Like once they get down, it could be bad. And that takes me to game 2, because in game 2, you see from the second inning, Taijuan Walker, who looked all right in the first inning, gives up 3 home runs and allows the Yankees to go up 5.
3 no-doubters.
3 no-doubters. True. I mean, that Aaron Judge one was just massive. And then Brett Gardner goes deep. And then I forget who was the other home run again. Catcher.
Higashioka.
Higashioka goes yard. And that right there to me was like, man, I don't know if the Mets are going to pull this one out, right? Even though Friday looked so great. But I think the bug from game 1, and this is what I said on Friday, I just think that they didn't have much to lose. So you saw them playing very fearlessly. And even James McCann jumps in, coming through with a huge double home run. It was a home run that put the Mets up 1. Love that kind of baseball. But take a step back. I want to kind of mention or speak to the starting pitchers, because for the Yankees, you had, I'm forgetting, I'm spacing on who was on the bump for the Yanks.
Kluber.
Yes, Kluber, who I did say, he wouldn't go deep into a game, but what did you make of it, Chuck? Kluber coming into that game, how he fared early on before he exited?
Well, I think with Montgomery struggling Friday, you knew you needed a length out of Kluber. And jumping out to a 5-0 lead in the second, you would think, Kluber can settle in and coast because they have a big lead. But it's what we've seen the past couple of starts with him, where he starts to unravel, after 2 innings of work. And I don't know if he's another guy that they rushed back from injury, but he hasn't looked himself since he returned. And he also didn't, and he's been pitching like this since his rehab assignment. So for them to have their two starters, and remember, they didn't announce a third, the Sunday starter until after the game Saturday. So that's when you knew that you need length out of Kluber, and he couldn't do it. And the bullpen's taxed, and we saw it. And I know we're gonna get into it with Game 3, but that's what happened. And I think, like you said, the Mets had all the energy playing with the house money, coming off the big win yesterday. And it was a special game, with 9/11, the whole New York thing and whatnot. But the Yankees were their own worst enemy, and thank God they came back to win that game. But their starting pitching is not getting the job done.
Don't thank God.
I'll
thank
you right
Luis
now.
Rojas.
I can't hear you. Can you hear him, Chuck? I can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, we can. I know you have some opinions on this second game.
Oh, Jesus.
It's okay. It's all right. It sounds like Kaylee took a spill.
Yeah.
Gotta be a dad.
And I can't even put her on the camera because she has a towel on.
I see. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that for everyone at home. You gotta handle that? Oh, you're on mute now. I'll take that as a yes.
I know what I do want to say.
Yeah.
It is so infuriating how much Joe Buck and John Smoltz hate the Yankees. Absolutely infuriating. Like, Walker got lit up early on in the game, like you said, right? I'm watching the game. It's like the 6th inning, and Walker kind of found his groove right in the 3rd. And John Smoltz is going, well, I haven't watched much of Walker this year, but this might be his best start of the year. What? What? How does giving up 5 earned runs equate to the best start? I had Walker in fantasy early on in the season. Yeah. He pitched a couple of gems. This was nowhere near his best gem. And then Judge, like you said, hit a tank
no
job.
Doubter.
Yeah, and Joe Buck is like, well, I don't know if it has enough. Like, the ball was gone as soon as it left the bat.
It was a moonshot.
John Smoltz is just salty because the Yankees denied him championships in the 90s. That's why he's so salty. And Joe Buck is Joe Buck. I don't have to get into that because we all know, we've all been around them. Yeah. But to quickly touch on your VR point, he was the guy that called time to go to Walker on the mound to let him know that he was tipping his pitches. So that was key. That was a key role he played too.
Because that was a rough inning he was having there, and it showed why. And I think that's a veteran move to catch that and to mention to his pitcher. Greg, now that you're back, I'll let you go off because I know you have an opinion on how this game ended, rather the turning point in this game.
Yeah.
And without further ado, please let the people know.
So, Chuck, like I said, you thank God. I said no. Thank Luis Rojas. There's a reason he's not allowed to carry the Alou name. All right, just because he's not good enough. All right, he's not good enough, and he continuously showed it throughout the season. As far as I'm concerned, this man should be fired yesterday. Yeah. When Trevor May was warming up in the bullpen after Lugo had a 7-pitch inning, I told my friends that I was with, this game is over. We are throwing away. Trevor May is the new Hansel Robles 2.0 in a Mets uniform. Okay, he cannot pitch in a big spot to save his life. Seth Lugo just threw 7 pitches. This is what I'm talking about, not having a feel for the game. Yeah. Why are we going to, just because he's your quote unquote 8th inning guy? Hey, if Trevor May gets through, I'm not Trevor May. If Seth Lugo gets through the top of the order on 7 pitches, run him back out there. If 2 guys get on, then maybe you go to a loop before you go to Trevor May should never be your first guy out of the pen in the 8th inning. Him and Miguel Castro, because they are ticking time bombs waiting to go off. There are so many games this season where the Mets have lost, not because of them, but because of his managerial decisions. And I don't know if it's coming from the top, but the fact that he just does not have a feel on the staff, whether it be starters going deeper in games and starters being upset they're taken out too early, or bringing in guys who just don't deserve to be in high leverage spots. It is really, really annoying. And the moment he came in that game, I knew he was giving up a game-tying home run. And once that happened, the game was over.
Yeah. I mean, we all felt it. We all knew it at that point. You do have the Baez error, the errant throw he had on bases loaded, 1 out, ground ball, tailor-made double play to Lindor. and Baez gets it, throws it flat-footed, gets away from Alonso, and then you have the go-ahead run scoring.
That is fair. Defense didn't help.
Yeah.
However,
that lapse didn't help.
Or also that Lindor didn't give him the greatest feed, but also I think that's a combination of Baez not playing second base in so long and figuring out the footwork, because the transfer on the bag is different than from shortstop.
Of course.
So I think that had a lot to do with it. You could tell he has the arm strength, but since the fact that he threw
wasn't that it couldn't make it, he overthrew it. Yeah,
because of his flat feet. But I think because he knows he had the arm strength, he felt like he could try to fire it and kind of skirt the mechanics of it. But mechanics, we all know, are second to none.
Essential. Very essential. I mean, usually he's the guy that makes that play, and that's why he trusted himself to do it. So you have the Mets losing game 2, but coming into game 3, bullpen day for the Yankees, as we expected after they had the tax bullpen in game 2, as Chuck said. And you see, I mean, ultimately coming into this game, I had all the confidence in the Mets still, even after that loss. It was a tough luck loss for the Mets. But you come into this game, you have Carrasco, who kind of a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get. And honestly, I mean, one of the highlights to me was Lindor. And I think that's for everyone. Like, this was Lindor's.
I mean, it better have been Lindor. I had to come through the screen if you didn't say that.
No, I mean, so 3 home runs, right? He becomes the second shortstop in Mets history to hit 3 home runs in a game. Up to this point, a lot of Met fans question the money for Lindor, if he was worth it, if he would ever be able to play up to the level that they, either heard about or saw in Cleveland. And what I loved about his home runs in the second inning, 3-run home run, Mets were down at that point. And then in the 6th inning, you have the bottom of the 6th, he hits another home run, his solo shot. And that's when he does the whistle, right? When he calls out, and it looks like he's talking to Glaber, I'm assuming, as he's rounding second. But after Stan hits his home run and then stops, which unprecedented, we could all say. Like, yes, Lindor did make a gesture, but he kept moving. After Stan does that, Lindor, with the tie game 6-6 at this point, comes back up and hits his 3rd home run. No doubter. Like, the energy in that stadium to me was I
felt it.
Yes, like it through the screen. And that to me was the arrival, right? Because 2 home runs, I think everyone would have been happy if the Mets won. He didn't hit the 3rd one. But that 3rd one, after the bench is clear, when Stanton stops at short, all right, energy's at an all-time high. Everyone is kind of freaking out in the stadium, and Yankee fans are probably giving it to Met fans. you have Brett Gardner doing the thumbs down, gesturing towards Javi. I think that Lindor having the poise to come into that moment and delivered exactly what the Mets needed, which ended up being the deciding run, was massive. It was huge. And that to me, like that game 3 was the resilience that I believe the Mets can take with them for the rest of September to try and make a run if they're going to do it, even though they're about, I think, 5 games out right now in the NL East. But Greg, what thoughts do you have on this 3rd game?
So I love the fact that Lindor hit his home run on 3 different pitches.
Yeah.
That
different sides of the plate as well.
Yeah, different sides of the plate. He hit the first one on a curveball, hanging curveball.
Yep.
The second one was on a changeup from the right side that he took to right center. And the third one was 97 from Chad. I give up home runs green. It was 97 middle in, just right in his wheelhouse, and he absolutely turned on it. That's what we baseball players call dropping the head. And that's exactly what he did. But once again, Luis Rojas almost blew this game. I cannot let that go unchecked. When he subbed in Brad Hand in the game, who has been decent for us, not gonna lie, he's been decent for us, and he giving
up a run. After that point,
he had it right. So who did he put in before Brad Hand? Who was it? Somebody came in and they gave up a hard hit. No, they gave up a hard hit single.
I'm finding it for you right now. So Brad Hand got into that game.
It was Castro.
Yes, Castro.
Castro gives up a hard hit single or walk. I can't remember. But anyhow, so Hand comes to the game and he's there to pitch the lefties. He strikes out Gardner. There's 1 out. He strikes out Gardner. There's 2 outs. Can somebody explain to me why on earth he threw anything that looked like a pitch to Giancarlo Stanton? That is even John Smoltz said this was a terrible matchup for Brad Hand. and everyone in the stadium knew it.
Yep.
You know, so and then behind him you have Joey Gallo, who seems like he gets paid to strike out at this point of his career.
Especially, I mean, he's going up against a lefty. Like that was the best matchup.
Like that was the matchup he brought him in the game for. You have first base open and 2 outs. It does not take a rocket scientist to realize you putting Giancarlo on does nothing to change the runner that's already in scoring position at second base. Take your chances with Gallo. If he gets beat, then you tip your hat. But that is the matchup you want. And Luis Rojas almost blew the game again. The season better end, and I better see Sandy Alderson saying we fired Luis Rojas and we're hiring Carlos Beltran on the spot. Like that's what I need to see.
I will say also, just to aid your point, up to that point, Gallo had struck out 3 times. So it wasn't like he was having a good game. Like he was about to get a go to sombrero. But Chuck, any words of wisdom on this third game?
Well, once Clark Schmidt was announced as the starter, it was going to be a long night.
he didn't look bad. Except for Lindor.
They gave up the 5 runs. I know there was a couple of errors involved, especially with Glaber at short, who is no longer the shortstop. Moving, he's going to be the second baseman the rest of the year. Thank baby Jesus. But but it's like, you're watching the game and Schmidt, is starting to get to that point where, he doesn't have it anymore. And who do we see warming up? Andrew Heaney. And it's like, oh, here comes the freaking circuit. Right? But I don't even know where to begin. So just those 2 guys just pissed me off. Like Greg said, Chad Green, I'm going to start calling him meatballs because that's what his fastball is. And when he came into the game, it was like Lindor's going to homer. And, I think that game was scripted so well. I mean, the night before was great, but this night was scripted so well with Lindor, and then he did the whistle, and then Stanton, and then they went back and forth, and then Glaber went out to go talk to Lindor and Baez, Garner with the thumbs down, just like how you said stuff. And then when Lindor came up, it was like, this is going to happen. And then when Stanton came up, you were like, can Stanton do it? And of course, he swung at a ball that was by his feet, because that's what Stanton does. But it was a great game nonetheless. Great series. I was completely wrong Friday. I thought it was going to be a snooze fest, but the last 2 games were terrific. And the Yankees are what they are. You see the struggles. They don't have that reliable arm in the pen. And
which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know what the hell they're going to do over the next final 2-3 weeks of the season, but they need to figure it out, and they need a stopper. And Ryan Ruocco said it today. Nobody on the pitching staff has been a stopper. And I think Cole comes back tomorrow, so Cole needs to be the stopper. And he would have been the guy who would have pitched Sunday night probably. So you really missed that. If Cole pitches, maybe the Yankees take 2 out of 3, but you're left with Clark Schmidt on the mound. And I think, what? I'm going to give flowers to Stan because I've been very hard on him. But what he did Sunday, that's what I wanted to see. I want to see energy out of this team. You want to see fight. He fought, and Cole too. Cole was there, throwing this, ready to jump. That's what we want to see out of this team. But it looks like only certain guys are buying in, and the other guys are just all lackadaisical.
Before we move on, Steph, Chuck, you as an umpire can speak to this as well. This series had the feel of a New York City men's league matchup of hated rivals. Like that's what it felt like.
Yeah,
the shit talking, the benches clearing, like everything. If you went to a men's league New York City baseball game, this is what you see.
Yeah.
But what I didn't understand is, I'm sorry to cut you off, Steph, but what I didn't understand is if Walker was tipping his pitches and the Yankees were whistling, what's the big deal? Like tipping pitches happens in baseball all the time.
Yeah.
I believe it was last week the Rays balked on purpose so that way the runner at second, because they were in the 10th inning or whatever. So that way the runner at second went to third, so the runner couldn't see the signs from the catcher. Like we see that all the time. So I don't understand why Lindor and Baez were so upset with the Yankees. You
want to take it, Steph, or you want me to take it?
You can take it.
So. It happens. It's gamesmanship.
Definitely does.
But that doesn't mean guys don't get upset about it or get called out, because especially if when you look at it from the whole New York rivalry aspect, it's like I'm sure they're looking at like, well, I thought you were good enough to beat us straight up. What's happening here? Y'all not good enough to do that, And then it takes on another level, and that's when we saw the series take on its own life.
Yeah, I think players take an exception to stealing signs, and it could go vice versa. It's not like anyone on the Mets isn't doing that, right? Like it happens in baseball, but I think when it happens, especially in a game as contested as the series was, and just again with the rivalry, as Greg said, I think you make note of it, and that's what Lindor did. And I just think the energy in the stands made that moment happen. If you don't have that energy, I don't know if Lindor after the home run does that the same way. I think just the game being so contested the way it was brought it to a head. And what I will say is in the third game, when Stanton does respond to Lindor, I felt like that was almost a revival of this rivalry because the energy isn't always there. It's kind of like, oh, we expect the Yankees to win. The Mets might, do their best to eke out a win or two. But like that energy, the players themselves, to me, I felt the rivalry more than the fans, because it's always the fans I feel more than the players. And seeing them clear the benches was like, all right, the players are bought in. Like, this is what I want to see. Kind of like how the Ravens and Steelers do not like each other. Like, it's just, you won't see any friendly gestures in those games. And I don't need it to be that nasty, but I liked seeing that. That made me happy. And I thought,
I agree, but it was just weird because he did it after the second homer. Mm-hmm. Why didn't he do it after the first? And who was he talking to when he was rounded second? Like who is he?
It's either one of the middle infielders or somebody in the outfield. Matthew Klein is in the comments. Thank you for watching. He said Lindor complains too much. Whistling isn't illegal. This isn't. Nobody said it was illegal. Yeah. I said it's gamesmanship.
He took exception to it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean players will not take exception, especially in what. Even though fans may not think it's a rivalry, it's there.
Yeah,
it's there.
For sure.
That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I just thought it was so weird of how the events transpired.
I could see that.
Yeah, it was just odd that it became like this whole big thing at that point in the game. If it happened the day before, in the second inning, and now you bring it up, a game later in what was it, the sixth? Right?
If I'm not mistaken, that he didn't forget.
Yeah,
he didn't forget.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a little weird to me, but. Oh, well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The Yankees went on to win their game today, even though it looked like they weren't going to eke it out. You had another Judge home run. He did what he had to do, 3-run job that tied the game up, and the Yankees pulled ahead. So we'll see. We're going to be keeping track of the Yankees, as we said, just because they're outside the playoff race right now, or the playoff bubble, outside looking in. And Blue Jays look like they're red hot. Like, they're not going to give that lead up. And it's really the Red Sox right now that you can see maybe having a chance. So we're going to keep track of it. You're going to hear everything here on Smoke and Mirrors. And once we get Deck back, we'll have a great conversation.
Deck, I need the Yankees to not make the playoffs, and you come on the day after. Like, that's what I need to happen.
Listen, him and Eddie will be apologizing to Manny and I.
We'll make that happen. That's going to be a must on the show. But moving on, we did have our first Sunday of football. All right, so I do want to get into that. Real quick, Chuck, I want to know, do you have the Red Zone Pass?
I do. All
right, can I get that login, bro?
Whatever you need, I got you.
Bro, because it is a struggle. I'm trying to get my games in as much as I can. I'm over here looking at highlights, but it was a interesting mixed bag, I would say, of week one, for fantasy purposes and just in real life. I do want to start with one game that I thought was interesting, just in the way it started and how it ended. It's the Browns versus the Chiefs, right? So we had a Browns team that going into this matchup, you thinking the Chiefs have this, they are a shoo-in because of that offense, especially coming off of that Super Bowl loss. You want to prove in your first week that we're getting back to the Super Bowl again and we're going to win this year. And surprisingly, the Browns, and I say surprisingly only because it's Browns, but they look good. I mean, Baker looked good. Baker finished 28, 321 yards, no touchdowns, right? One pick, a pivotal pick that was, though. right? They did it on the ground. They got 4 touchdowns on the ground, but Baker, when your team is down now 4 points, having to get it done, turns the ball over. It was hard to see that, but I mean, Patty Mahomes on the other side of the ball does exactly what you expect. I mean, Tyreek Hill, shout out to anyone that had Tyreek Hill in fantasy. He ate.
Yeah, almost 200 yards receiving.
Yeah. But this is a game to me that you didn't expect the outcome to be this close, and it was. Greg, I want to kick it to you real quick. If you saw the game or not, just what do you make of this Browns team? Do you think they are the real deal in this offense? Again, putting up a good game against the Chiefs without Baker throwing any touchdowns.
So you remember my hot take for the AFC North, right?
I do remember it.
I need the Browns to keep doing this so they prove me right, because I see people who got the Browns in the Super Bowl. But as talented as they are, right, this is what I mean. Like, just the Browns are going to Brown.
Yeah.
And I feel like no matter how talented they are, there's just something that holds this organization back from winning when it matters. Because that would have been a statement game if they won that game.
Definitely.
Also, I felt like they tried to play keep away with the ground and pound from Pat Mahomes. But to me, playing keep away, you just have, because their defense, the Chiefs' defense is kind of sus.
Yeah.
You got to put up as many points as possible. Playing keep away won't work because Pat Mahomes is going to be surgical whether you like it or not.
They did have the key into late in the game, and then there was the Nick Chubb fumble that was also pivotal. So I mean, because Nick Chubb had 15 carries for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was running well. It wasn't like he couldn't eclipse 100 yards, and Nick Chubb usually runs well. I just think that you have some pivotal turnovers against a really great offense that changes the game any time. You can't give the ball. You can't cough up the ball to Mahomes. You can't cough up the ball to Brady. They're just certain quarterbacks you can't do that to. But Chuck, what about you? Are you bought in on these Browns?
Yeah, definitely. And I got to give kudos to Kevin Stefanski, the head coach. He had his team ready to play. Now, going in, playing the defending AFC champions for the past 2 years, the kick off the season, that's a game where if you're not prepared, you can easily go into Kansas City and get blown out. But I like how they stuck to their identity of running the ball. And it goes to show that even though Baker may not have been his best through the air, they were still in that game, and only a couple of turnovers cost them. So I think this was a good measure and stick game for them, because I think they're going to meet again in the playoffs without a doubt. And the game was even close last year too. But I really like what the Browns are building. And don't forget, Odell Beckham did not play yesterday. Mm-hmm. And Odell Beckham can change a game like that.
That was something I was going to note, because there was a lot of talk last year, right? Now, this is me just throwing it out there. This is not saying I believe it, but there's a lot of talk that this team on offense plays better when he's not there, because there's not.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, do we think this holds true when he comes back? Do you think that it's going to be tough to spread the ball around through the air? I mean, what's Schwartz, the young
rookie
guy?
Yeah,
rookie.
The burner.
Yeah, he played a pivotal role. Does he take a back seat when Odell comes back? Because Odell doesn't have that same top flight speed, and he's still a great route runner. But, what does Odell's re-entry into this starting lineup make this offense look like?
I mean, I think they're more dynamic. I think that when Odell wasn't at his best, or rather when the numbers were down, Baker wasn't necessarily doing well. It was also Baker. It wasn't just Odell and Baker having an issue with their relationship. I just don't think Baker was the best QB at the time. And Baker, towards the end of last season and into this season, he's been a better quarterback. The quarterback that, you might contest and say that he didn't deserve to be number 1 overall, but he has been very solid and consistent in that time frame. So I think when Odell comes back, it's just another weapon for Baker, and he's going to know how to use that weapon. He did not know how to in the past. He was forcing a lot of throws to Odell because it's the name, it's Odell. But I think Odell coming back makes this offense even more dangerous, knowing that the run game is going to be there with Chubb and Hunt. And he does, and Schwartz could still be the one that blows the top off the defense, and Odell's gonna be the tactician in between the intermediate routes.
Yeah, I agree. I think Odell gets a bad rep because he's looked at as a me player.
Yeah.
But the old saying is winning, cures everything. So I think he has to understand this is a team that's built to run the football. Their offensive line is pretty good. They got two great backs in Chubb and Hunt. Like I think Odell will see that them running the ball gives them the best chance to win the game.
Yeah.
And running the ball opens up the play action for him where he could beat, not almost every corner, but a good majority of corners in the NFL. So I think having Odell back and Baker, like Steph said, Baker finally reaching possibly that next level will only make this Browns team more dynamic. But I give them a lot of kudos because they almost pulled away with the victory. I think they were up by like 2 possessions at half or whatever. But they played a great game, and I think the Chiefs need to figure it out defensively. The past couple of years, they've always started out slow defensively, and then Spags, finally finds the right, combination and whatnot.
Bend don't break kind of situation.
But let's see what happens as we move on in the season.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Now, I'm hoping that a particular someone is watching right now. That'd be you, Paul Lawson. Paul, you were on the show, and we were talking about who we were picking, for the division winners and who we thought that we're going to make it to the postseason. And Greg and I brought up a particular quarterback who we felt with this new environment, with the new weapons, would be dynamic. He would just be a game changer, and that was Matthew Stafford. All right, Stafford, as we all saw last night, looked really good. And I mean, there's some people, I'm not saying it was me, but there were people saying MVP. Was this the game that Matthew Stafford is saying, hey, I am an MVP candidate. I actually have weapons now. The Rams beat the Bears 34-14. And it wasn't close. Andy Dalton did not look good back there. Just to switch gears real quick. The fact that they put Fields out there is just like, why at all?
Why are you teasing us?
Yeah.
Don't tase me, bro.
But yet Stafford, 20 of 26 for 321 yards, 3 TDs. And then Henderson, who Paul Lawson was also low on, 16 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown, doing enough for this team to win. He actually had the most carries by far on that team. So I'm looking at this Rams offense, and we already know their defense. And Chuck, I'll start with you this time. Can you see a Super Bowl run for this Rams team?
Oh, definitely. As soon as the Rams traded for Stafford, it was kind of like they might be the favorites in the NFC now, considering what they have on the defensive side of the ball and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. And Stafford is 100 times better upgrade over Jared Goff. and Stafford can make throws that Goff really can't.
Yes.
Goff regressed since that Super Bowl run that they went on. So as long as Stafford keeps doing his thing, Stafford's been a pretty good quarterback.
Hold on. Can you say that again? Because I have a friend named Jared.
I knew it.
Who still pissed about this trade. So Chuck, can you just tell me again what Jared Goff has done since the Super Bowl, just so he can hear it?
Regressed, and you see it.
Right, okay.
You see it. He doesn't have that same touch. He was missing throws, especially to Cooper Kupp, who also started to regress and then had a breakout game yesterday.
Yes, he did.
Goff was missing throws that he usually made to Kupp, 2-3 seasons ago that he wasn't making anymore. And Stafford can air the ball out. And I think Van Jefferson is a little sleeper. He has players. Shout out to your Florida Gators, Greg. But if they didn't lose Cam Akers, because I think Cam Akers is dynamic,
yes,
I would have had them as the favorite to win in the NFC. But if they could establish something of a running game, because you need a running game to win in the NFL, especially in the playoffs, if they could find a combination between Henderson and Michelle and whoever else they have in their backfield, if they could do that, they could definitely be playing in February.
Greg, your opinion, sir.
So we already know I'm locked in as Stafford as an MVP. So last night doesn't change anything for me. Mm-hmm. And what I saw different from Stafford that I saw from Goff is his to take away the top of a defense and hitting his receiving stride. That bomb to Van Jefferson was so pretty. And I think even though the Rams couldn't run the ball consistently for the first 3 quarters, Stafford's playmaking ability with Robert Woods and Cooper's Kupp ability is going to be stopped for 4 quarters. And the Bears are no slouch of a defense either. So let's not forget that. But I think the Rams have a good chance and set themselves up to compete to win.
Oh, you know what's weird about what just happened? You've been kind of skipping this whole time, and I thought it was just like me, maybe. And I'm like, let me just wait. But like you ended on the skip, so I'm like, oh, I have to talk now.
It's weird. It's weird. I don't know what it is. The internet is building the last couple of days. It's kind of
Chuck, is he skipping for you too?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, cool. So it's not me. I'm over here sitting. I was really trying to play it cool, like, all right, I'm listening.
I know. I was there. I was like, is it me?
Did you guys miss anything?
I missed literally the last word of whatever.
We missed the ending, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying that, with the two tacticians on the outside running their routes,
yes.
And setting themselves up nicely, even with a middling running game to win.
Wow, it happened again. But I understand it this time though. And what I do want to add to that, I will add to that is, and this is back at Paul Lawson, because he had a lot of bold statements about the Rams, and he was saying that both Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are not players that can stretch the field. They don't have the ability to stretch the field. What? And the retort was, well, look who was throwing to them. Someone that could not stretch the field. Hence why you don't tailor a playbook to a quarterback that doesn't have the ability to do the things that you want them to do. You work with what they have. Matthew Stafford is a quarterback that can stretch the field, as you said, Chuck. And we saw that last night. And
I said that too, but you guys probably didn't hear me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I missed that. I'm sorry. Not just us, but everybody at home didn't hear you. So I'm glad I got to reiterate it. But Lawson, you're looking a little wild right now. All right, we're gonna see.
Are you sure that you have the right poll? Are you sure you're not talking about the other poll? Because the other poll hates Stafford. Stafford, and I think
he does.
And I think I've argued with him one time over Stafford, but he hates Stafford. So are you sure you have the right poll?
Let me just follow it up. Jared Carter, the fact that you are in lockstep with Paul Ikezi says more about you and your take. All right, just keep that in mind.
How is he upset with? Did he watch the game last night? The Rams were flying all over the field.
My friend's words were, Matthew Stafford did nothing different than Goff was doing. I promise what he was saying.
I saw Matthew Stafford hit Van Jefferson and Cooper Kupp on bombs yesterday, while Jared Goff could probably never make those throws for the rest of his career.
There's a reason that the Rams virtually were looking to give away Jared Goff.
Yeah,
they were looking for suitors and they could not find them.
Well, I want us to get to a few more of the matchups before you run out of time here. And we were talking about the wily vet in Stafford. I want to talk about one of the rookies who started on Sunday, and that was Trevor Lawrence. All right, we watched a Jaguar team that not everyone was expecting. We didn't have high hopes going into this at all. But man, did Urban Meyer make this team look really bad. Like the Texans,
on Friday.
You're not wrong. But you have Houston. You're going up against Houston. You're going into Houston to play the Texans, who they're not a good team. You have Tyrod Taylor behind center, which everybody thought washed. Bad running game was another thing we thought. Defense is sus. How is it that this game wasn't close? The final score was 37-21 Texans, but you had Trevor Lawrence only really get the yards in garbage time. 28 of 51, he dropped back 51 times for 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 picks. The running game wasn't there. You had Carlos Hyde getting more carries than James Robinson. All right, you had some nice highlights, still some highlight throws. All right, the touchdown he threw to Marvin Jones. He had another one to Chark that was really good. But Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle, similar to how Zach Wilson would have struggled if Adam Gase was still there. All right, you can't expect to have a head coach come in and be as flawed as Urban Meyer is, to me, as we've seen so far, and expect to have a young quarterback thrive. On the other side of that, I do want to say Tyrod Taylor, I'm happy for him.
Fact.
The man, medical malpractice, all right? They punctured the man's lungs last year, and it looked like he might not have a job, gets a job with the Texans on the one team that maybe he had a chance at, replacing a quarterback with a similar skill set. 21 of 33, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns. He and Brandon Cooks look good together. But
go ahead.
No. I was gonna kick it to one of you. What you got to say?
And the resurgence of Mark Ingram.
Yeah,
did not expect that.
He wasn't efficient. 26 carries for 85 yards and a TD, but just the fact that Mark Ingram was productive, it to me is like, and it's not a great defense either in the Jags, but
to me, the fact that he had 26 carries and he held up. Like that's a big deal because durability has been his issue the last couple of years.
Yeah, true. I agree with that. I guess I was looking at it as they trusted him with the rock to kill time than anyone else.
Yeah.
In that, even David Johnson, because he only had 3 carries. But yeah, Chuck, what do you make of this Jaguar team? Can you see a situation where, despite everything Urban Meyer is doing, that Trevor Lawrence does have a good season this year?
Before you go, Chuck, Carl has a message for you. He said you need to catch up in the hit list standings.
It's week 1. I'm only behind by 5, all right? All I have to do is fade the public, which I like to do, and I'll be cooking. I'm not even – it's September 13th. The season ends like January 1st. I got plenty of time.
It's also Paul Lawson in the lead, but has a tendency to make some wild picks. So we're definitely going to get
I'm not surprised by that.
I'm chilling. I think Lawrence will have a good season. He has all the talent in the world. There's a reason why, he was tabbed, the next Peyton or John Elway, so on and so forth, Andrew Luck. But I don't think Urban Meyer is the right coach. I don't think there's a person out there that believes Urban Meyer is the right coach. And I'm glad that you brought up the Urban Meyer situation because 3 hours ago, USC finally fired Clay Helton. Thank God. Now the word is the clock's ticking because once January hits, Urban's packing up his bags and flying west to go to USC. But I think with every player throughout history, no matter what the sport is, you have all the talent in the world. 97 to 98% of the time, they need a coach to develop them.
Yeah.
You have your outliers, of course, the LeBrons of the world, the Jordans and whatnot, but you always need the coach or coaching staff or whatever to develop that talent. And I don't see Urban Meyer developing Trevor Lawrence. Now we got to see if Lawrence has the talent to overcome the deficiencies in coaching. Sam Darnold's a perfect example. Very talented quarterback, right? And he looked somewhat decent year 1, but Adam Gase ruined him. Flat out ruined him. You see it. He's happy feet in the pocket still, and he's on year 4 now. So it goes to show that you need the proper coaching development. And I think the Jaguars are going to be looking for a new head coach, but think about the offseason that the Jaguars had and how they were always in the media.
Yeah.
Meyer made the wrong coaching decision and he had to fire a coach like 3 days into training camp and whatnot. It's just a disaster. And I guess they only did it because it was a name in that part of the town that's big, a big Gator Nation town. But I'm fully out on Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer stinks. That's all I have to say.
Well, that's easy enough. With that, you did mention Sam, so I want to talk about the Jets, want to talk about Carolina, that game, that matchup, which, you can't schedule it better, right? You have Sam Darnold moved during the offseason, gets with Carolina. Everyone is kind of expecting Sam to take that step because it's a better offense. He actually has pieces around him. And it's a revenge game, which most players will do well in their revenge game, trying to prove to the other team. You also have Robbie Anderson on that squad. And I can't deny I was happy for Sam, right? He played well, 24-35, 279 yards, 1 touchdown. it's not the kind of numbers you would expect from him if he was a Jet. It also helps when you have C-Mac in the backfield for you, producing like 187 yards from scrimmage or something like that. You know, he leaned on him heavily, even in the passing game, 9 receptions, not 89 yards. But Sam Darnold looks like a quarterback that can at least allow this team to win and not, you know, stymie them or get in the way of their team. Now to move on to the Jets. That O-line, man, like we didn't expect the turnstile to be the way it was.
Right before you get Sam Darnold is going to go as far as that defense allows him in Carolina.
I'm not saying that Sam is going to do anything special out there necessarily, but I believe that Sam Darnold can give that team a chance to win.
I agree. It's
going to be Sam, and it's a running game. Like it's hand in hand. He benefits greatly from that running game. Any quarterback would. Mm-hmm. But the circumstance and situation is far better for him. I just feel bad for Zach Wilson now as we see that the offense, and he did a lot with a little. I mean, 20 of 37, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 in tow. But there was no running game at all. Part of that all non-existent. I was really expecting Ty Johnson to make something happen, especially because this isn't, he's been here before. He knows the scheme, and he did pretty well last year. But him, Tevin Coleman, and Michael Carter, all three of them struggled. And you really only saw Corey Davis come through and look like, an acquisition that was worthwhile, or rather that held his own. I was very disappointed with Elijah Moore. 1 reception, -3 yards. I just think that, maybe it's a little bit of rookie first game and a little bit of the jitters, but I wanted more from this game. I wasn't expecting much, but just a little bit of more of a spark from the offense. Greg, what do you make of these Jets?
You said you wanted more. I mean, this is exactly what I expected, to be honest.
You expected the O-line to be that bad?
I expected the O-line to.
You didn't expect them to be that bad.
To be decent, but also when you look at who the pass rush that Carolina has, I wasn't surprised by how it played out. What I did like that I saw was Zach Wilson's ability to move around in the pocket and still keep his eyes downfield, which is something Sam Darnold was never able to do.
Extending the play has been great. He did very well with that.
Also, I would like to note, but remember, we all know here, I'm a fan of Justin Fields more so than Zach Wilson, but I got to give Zach Wilson his credit. He evaded some of those rushes, and Elijah Moore did not help him out. There are 2 balls that Elijah Moore should have caught down the field that could have changed the complexion of that game in the first half. So I will call that out. Elijah Moore looked like he was seeing ghosts from the receiver version, But there was no, like, to use your favorite new term, it was a mixed bag. There was some bad.
Is that my favorite new term?
I mean, you said it a lot. You said it like 3 times already today. And you said it on Friday. Yeah, you did.
I feel like I said it twice today, if that. And 3 times not a lot.
We're going to go with a lot. That's what we're going to
go. All right. You don't know definition of words, but okay.
Kick rocks. How about that? Kick rocks.
Continue. Finish your point, please.
Now, what I was going to say is, see, you made me lose my train of thought. But anyhow, the Jets just need to evolve each week. Like next week when we play New England, build on that little bit of offensive firepower that we had and try to get some semblance of a running game, and maybe we see a different team,
Yeah. Chuck, what about you?
Well, Greg, I do think you're right about the Darnold situation. I think Darnold in Carolina is going to be your game manager type quarterback.
Yeah.
Just like how Teddy Bridgewater is in Denver, where they have a lot of playmakers.
We're going to get to that.
They have a lot of playmakers, solid defense. So Sam just can't turn the ball over, lean on McCaffrey, which we saw him do yesterday a lot of the times. But over to the Jets, offensive line is doo-doo, without a doubt. And I think not having a preseason really affected Moore because he was hurt almost all at camp. He didn't play in any games. Barrett Tucker had the same ordeal. Becton, who unfortunately got hurt, he was also, injured during the preseason. So I think having so many guys injured throughout training camp in the preseason showed, especially in the first half, without a doubt. And Wilson was scrambling for his life. But Wilson, played poor in the first half, and I had somebody from the hit list texting me. It was like It was like only like 120. The game just kicked off, and he's like, "Same old Jets. Zach Wilson's the boss." I'm just sitting, I'm laughing. I'm like, what did you expect? Did you expect them to come out and Zach Wilson to become Mahomes and go throw, for 300 yards in the first 10 minutes of the game? But I was like, just relax and play better in the second half. But I do think LaFleur kept the handcuffs on Wilson, Didn't want to really open the playbook. They didn't. I don't even recall them running too many screens or anything, especially with all the speed that they have in their wide receiver group. And the running game couldn't get going because the offensive line was so bad. So listen, this is a learning curve year for the Jets. Mm-hmm. They're starting like
they're the youngest team in the league.
Rookies. Yeah, they're starting four rookies on defense. The line, is going through your typical, bad team line deals. And they're going to be, a top 5 pick team once we hit April. So just enjoy and just look for a progression. Zach Wilson progressed yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
First half, came back, second half, looked much better. So next week, you want to see him build off that. And you want to see everybody else get involved and just progress, especially the younger guys.
Before we move on to that other team in Jersey, I want to shout out the Jets kicker. All right.
Oh yeah.
Who after Braden Mann got hurt, I'm drawing a blank on his name. So if somebody could remind me of his name. Amendola, yes, Amendola. Yeah. He came in and was booming punts, on a whim. So shout out to him. That to me, that was a high note for us. The fact that he could come in and play the field position game really well on special teams, that was something that gets a little overlooked. I wanted to shout him out.
Yeah, and I guess just to wrap up before we move on, I will say I agree that Zach Wilson did progress, but the O-line just has to be better. 6 sacks, you're just not going. You have to keep your quarterback upright. All right, and we've seen with rookies before, and we've seen with young quarterbacks just fearing for their lives when the rush is coming. And Carolina's defense is good. They weren't as good last year, and the pass rush is good, but just not some of the top tier pass rushes that we've seen in the league. So I'm hoping that they can improve. They get a little healthier in the O-line too. Well, as you said, Greg, moving over to the other team out there in Jersey, we have the New York Giants. And Declan, I believe that you're probably not listening right now, but I want you to listen back on this because your Giants, your pick to make the postseason. That is, it's not happening, bud. I'm sorry. The Broncos and Teddy Bridgewater, a game manager, as you said, Chuck, they made him look really good. They made him look like John Elway. They made Bridgewater look really good. All right, and that's on the defensive end. On the offensive side, a man that has to prove that he is the guy this year did not do that, did not get it done. And I can't say I'm surprised. We've talked about this time and time again. Daniel Jones just does not look like he's going to take that next step. 22 of 37 to 267 yards, a touchdown, no interception, but Danny Fumbles was at it again. Oh, yes, he was.
2 hands on the ball like that. Jesus Christ.
He rushed, rushing for 27 yards and got the touchdown, but he's just turnover prone. He did make Sterling Shepard look good. He did have a great game. Sterling Shepard, 7 receptions, 113 yards, and a touchdown, which is great. But you don't have a Saquon. Saquon's not all there yet. 10 carries, 26 yards. He's not. You need more from him. All right, and he had 1 catch you have to target him more than that. He has to bring down more balls than 1 just for you to have a chance. He's too dynamic of a player to me not to use him in that regard. Shout out to the Denver defense. We all know they're good. They're healthier this season than they were last year. Well, Greg, I want to start with you because you love Daniel Jones so much. What are I already know your thoughts on these Giants, but just air out how you felt about that game.
So in typical fashion, Deck, we know that you like to support when Daniel Jones makes great throws. And he made a couple great throws to Sterling Shepard early on in the game. Shepard balled out. I love seeing him in that number 3, by the way, because he wears it for his dad who played at Oklahoma. So that's really dope. It does. But there also throws in the first half that he missed, that he shouldn't miss. I think it was 2nd or 3rd down and like 7, and he missed the out route to Shepard. He threw the ball at his feet. These are throws in your 3rd year. You can't, and there was no one around him. You cannot miss. And it was like maybe the first or second quarter. I said, he's going to throw his inevitable pick. But the inevitable pick ended up being an inevitable fumble. One way or another, he always turns the ball over when it matters the most. That drive that he fumbled was a turning point in the game. And if that doesn't change, you're looking at Danny backup for the rest of his career.
Chuck, do you agree?
Yeah. Can we also talk about how bad the Giants' offensive line is?
Yeah.
The Jets' offensive line put on a poor show in the 1 o'clock hour, and then the Giants' offensive line was, hold my beer. Von Miller was coming off the edge untouched. So, I mean, Jones had a bad game, and he didn't play well, but I don't think any quarterback is going to do well when his offensive line is that bad. And I think we saw it, and the Giants are what they are going to be. They're not going to go anywhere with poor quarterback play. So if Jones plays well, Giants have a chance. And now they're looking at a must-win. Yes, I know it's week 2, but you know what happens when teams go down 0-2 to start the season? They go into a must-win on a short week down in Washington against another good defense. And Daniel Jones is probably saying his prayers right now because Chase Young is looming. And after what we saw Von Miller just do, Chase Young is coming. And that's all we can say. And it's also the Taylor Heineke show Thursday night, so I'm hyped.
It's the Antonio Gibson show and Gibson's good. They're gonna feed him the rock. As bad. You had Melvin Gordon run for 101 on like 11
he
carries.
Got 70 of those on one play.
I don't care. It was 11 carries. He got 101 yards. Melvin Gordon, and you think Antonio Gibson isn't about to run all? I'm just saying.
I'm glad you segued that because I wanted to talk about the Giants defense. Time and time again, we were told by our co-host Declan Krogman that the Giants are a top 10 defense. Well, yesterday they looked like a bottom 5 defense. That was a poor showing. Again, you made Teddy Bridgewater, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick and company, and Noah Fant look like the Super Bowl winning Broncos.
KJ Hamler also dropped an easy touchdown.
How did he even get behind the defense? Like he was like 10 yards behind them.
It was I think the corner thought he had safety help, and so he let him blow by. And
that's poor though. That's poor communication. You're supposed to know if you got help over the top of you, and he just let him blow by him because it didn't look like it was a double move or anything.
No, it wasn't.
What I understand about the Giants is they have a really talented secondary.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
You know, with Logan Ryan, McKinney, I think they signed Adoree Jackson too, right? Like, they have it. Like, why don't they play man on the outside and stack the box? Like, why are they playing?
Maybe they don't have faith in their linebackers' coverage abilities.
I don't know. And also, Pat Shurmur, revenge game, former Giants head coach, now Broncos offensive coordinator, put the spin on Patrick Graham yesterday and completely outcoached them. And
he put on a clinic. They were every time you look, the Broncos receivers were open.
Like they were driving down the field with ease. And Teddy Bridgewater did his thing.
Teddy two gloves.
We'll see about these Giants this year. And give me Washington on Thursday.
That's
for sure.
A fact. Definitely. I expect Gibson and Logan Thomas to have big games.
Yes, definitely. So with that, we're getting really close to game time for this Monday Night Football game. So we want to wrap this up, giving you a little preview to the game and also our predictions. Before we start that, though, I'd like to bring in a Sports Atlas contributor, a major Oakland Raider fan, as you can see there, Manny Schefter. The man came ready. So we got the Raiders, got Ravens at the Raiders tonight. Manny, thank you for joining us. I shouldn't have to ask you who you got, but I mean, if you're realistic, you might not have your team.
See this number?
I do see
it's
that.
It's the
number.
GOAT, Darren Waller's birthday today. And guess what? He's going for over 200 receiving yards, 17 catches, and this man is going to have 3 touchdowns.
Yo, Manny, put down the pipe, bro.
Hey. I think I was drinking some of that Henny that you had the other day.
All right, Manny. So you just came on. I want to ask you, what do you make of this matchup as far as the Ravens? We know about the injuries, right? Gus Edwards is down. They lost J.K. Dobbins. You also lost Justice Hill. And now you have Tyson Williams, who is going to be getting the bulk of the carries for a team that relies on the run a lot. How do you feel? How do you feel your team's chances are right now going into this game?
I feel we have a good chance. Basically, I've been thinking about it the whole time. My whole focus right now for this game, I want to see what this revamped defense is, because throughout the entire preseason and even during training camp, I've been reading through the forums, the Twitter and all that, like all the Raiders stuff, even listening to some podcasts, and they keep talking about, oh, we got the former defensive coordinator of the Legion of Boom. And I'm like, okay, can we see this supposed defense? Can we see if Jonathan Abram knows how to actually play defense as a secondary?
You won't.
Not my man goes for the hit. I mean, I get it, catch the hand. That's why I like him. But my man, come on, man. You're getting burned. You're getting cooked. You can't even hit. You even injured your own player last year. Your rookie year. Let's be honest here. So it's going to be a true test to see how this defense is, because it's going to show how it's going to be, whether they're going to be a bust and get destroyed every single week. So if you have any fantasy players going up against the Raiders defense, especially the secondary, watch this game and just, every single week, even the third wide receiver on your team or your bench, just throw them in there. Throw them in there to cook the defense, because the secondary still scares me.
Okay, I got you. I thought you were about to say something else. Greg, what about you? What are you thinking of this matchup? And again, and Manny, for everything you're saying about Darren Waller right now, this Ravens D is still very good. All right, tops in the league last year. So Waller, 17 catches, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns.
That's a delusional fan in me. Come on, man. Let me have it. This is his birthday. I got to enjoy this once.
But Greg, what are you thinking on this matchup and your prediction? I want to get your predictions. Manny, you don't have to go. We know what yours is going to be. But Greg, give me yours.
So I was given a cup.
Oh, nice.
What's in the cup?
Ask Kaylee who she got for tonight.
Who you got, Kaylee?
She's like Raiders.
She says Ravens.
No, Raiders. I heard Raiders. I heard Raiders at the end of it.
And here's why I'm gonna go Ravens. Like Steph said, you said because of the defense, and they have the better quarterback in the matchup. He's more dynamic. I don't think the Raiders will be able to stop Lamar Jackson. I think he may run for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and throw for another 200 yards. Yeah, you agree, right, Kaylee? Yep.
No, settle down, Kaylee. You're my favorite pupil. I'm gonna need you to settle down. All right.
Chuck, give it to us. What are your thoughts? Who you think of these matchups, and who do you got?
Well, I'm going to take the Ravens, but I got a special message for the Ravens offensive coordinator, Greg Roman. Let Lamar air it out tonight. You have basically no running game. Latavius Murray is wherever he is. Lev and Devontae Freeman are on the practice squad for whatever reason. You have an undrafted free agent starting at running back. I understand you're going to give him your carries and everything. Mm-hmm. Let Lamar cook. Let Lamar do his thing. He can win. No offense to Manny, but I think Lamar can beat this Raiders defense. So let Lamar use his legs, but more importantly, let him show off the arm. He has receivers. Let him cook. And I think the Ravens have Sammy Watkins now, and Sammy Watkins is a
game one monster.
If we only accounted for his stats for week 1, Sammy Watkins would be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Easy.
Every week 1, he's Jerry Rice, and then he turns into, I don't know, a scrub. But
Jacoby Ford
tonight. Let him hit Mark Andrews over the middle. I want to see Mark Andrews get more targets. Let Lamar cook. LLC. Let Lamar cook.
I like it.
I like it. I like that a lot. I'm going Ravens too. I think it's really their game to lose. Honestly, I don't see a. I don't see a scenario.
No, it's all right. I don't expect anything less. And let me tell you,
the truth.
When the Raiders win, I'm coming for every single one of you because my show comes out tomorrow.
I was about to say you have a chance to air it out on Tuesday, so you get to talk your mess, or you get to sulk. You're probably gonna be sulking though.
No, I'm gonna still talk trash regardless, win or lose.
But yeah, and I got the Ravens. I just don't see them losing this game. And Lamar, I think Lamar's going to cook. Whether he's doing it with his arm or with his legs, I can't see them losing this game. With that, I want to thank you, everyone, for coming on. Everyone, Chuck, Manny.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Before you guys go, in this sports hit list fantasy football that we have, I believe a special someone, this guy, the NFL guru, the guy that knows football, he knows everything. Travis McKay, I'm calling you out, my man. We were talking, we made a bet, and the bet was whoever team wins in fantasy football, because we matched up against each other, whoever wins, the loser has to give praise and admit defeat and catch that L. So Travis, I hope you're watching. Tomorrow's going to be a lovely day.
Wow. All right. Well, congrats to Manny's team.
Smoked him too, because Travis drafted Aaron Rodgers, and we know how that played out.
Listen.
I almost beat him by 83.
Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook are dead to me. I don't want to hear their name for the rest of the season. What they did to me yesterday, Aaron Rodgers is like a
disrespectful.
Slob. Absolute slob. He wants to be. This guy thought he was Jordan. Do you know who he played like?
Sam Bowie.
Another Jordan, who's the left guard for the Bengals, I think. That's who he. And then
played like Jamarcus Russell.
Dalvin Cook fumbled in the Bengals 38 line in overtime, cost them the game. What are you doing to me? I hate NFC North. They should not be a division. Pump them. They're canceled. They are dead to me. Every week I'm going to have players that are dead to me. The first two are Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook.
So
honestly, I love a good Chuck rant. This episode wouldn't be complete without a Chuck rant. And I'm here for players that are dead to Chuck segment.
Paul Lawson wrote in the chat that Jameis was going off, and it was like 14-0, and I was like, what? And I looked, I was like, what? And then like Rodgers threw a pick right after. I was like, well, what are we doing here?
And then that led to Aaron Jones doing nothing.
Yeah. And he got pulled.
And this was like 20 minutes after the Vikings kicked the field. I saw that the Vikings kicked the field goal, sent to overtime. Then I get told that Dalvin Cook fumbled. I was like, come on, are you serious? And then he fumbled.
I hear the hurt in your voice.
My God.
You're giving me flashbacks, Chuck. You're giving me flashbacks about what happened to the Yankees last year.
Yeah, we definitely got to do a who is the worst fantasy performer next Monday.
We can definitely do that. I'm here for it. But we're about to be at game time. Don't want to keep you guys up. Thank you again, Chuck and Manny, for coming through. Always appreciate it. Good luck to you, Manny. You're going to need it tonight. But don't forget, like always, share, comment, and subscribe to all Hitless content, YouTube, Facebook, and IG. The handle is SportsHL. Again, that is SportsHL. Coming up, Manny Schefter down there has his show tomorrow, 5 o'clock with Mike. Please tune in. You'll hear him either crying or, I don't know, gloating. Probably crying, though.
We don't cry.
All right. And then we'll be back again on Friday with our new time, 4 to 5. So we start on Mondays, 7 to 8. And then on Fridays, will be 4 to 5 o'clock. So please tune in to get the smoke and mirrors that you love and enjoy. Greg, you have anything you want to say?
One thing before I go. Mom Dukes was here, but she didn't want to come on camera. She surprised us, and she popped her head in, but she didn't want to come on camera. So shout out to you, Ma.
Mama Poya. The only one I respect.
Kaylee gonna give you the hands, bro.
Nah, Kaylee, she's the exception.
Heard you. Well, everyone at home, enjoy the game tonight. We'll see you on Friday. Take care and have a great week.